In a small town in Oregon, the kind of place where the lawns stay perfectly trimmed and everyone waves when they pass by, there stood a blue two-story house with white shutters numbered 217. No one thought much about it. The elderly neighbors said the house had good bones. Families came and went over the years. Kids grew up and left. It was just another quiet home on a quiet street until the night a young woman named Allison Green looked up and saw a man staring at her from the second-floor window of that house. A house she thought was empty. Allison had moved into the neighborhood only 2 weeks earlier. She was a nurse, working long night shifts at St. Mary's Hospital, and had chosen this area for the peace it promised. Her next-door neighbor, Mrs. Turner, was a sweet old lady who baked pies for everyone on the street. "Nothing ever happens here," she'd said proudly the first day they met. But nothing ever happens was about to change. One cold October evening, Allison returned home from work around midnight. The street was quiet. The only sound was the wind rustling through the maple trees. She parked her car, grabbed her bag, and looked up out of habit, and that's when she saw it. In the second-floor window of the house next door, a face. A man's face. Pale, expressionless. Watching her, she froze. Her heart thudded. That house had been vacant for months. The realtor's sign still leaned in the yard, half fallen. The windows were dark, except for that one. The curtain moved slowly like someone had stepped back into the shadows. Allison stood there, gripping her keys, debating whether she should call someone. But she told herself it was probably nothing. Maybe a squatter. Maybe a trick of the light. She went inside, locked her doors, and tried to forget about it. But she couldn't. Over the next few nights, Allison started hearing noises. Not from her house, but from next door. A faint thud here, a dragging sound there. Sometimes she swore she heard crying. She mentioned it to Mrs. Turner, who frowned. "Oh honey, that place has been empty since spring. The owner moved to Arizona." Still, Allison's unease grew. On the fourth night, after another late shift, she parked her car and looked up again. The same window, the same face, watching. This time, she didn't look away. She pulled out her phone and took a picture, but the moment she did, the light in the window snapped off. Total darkness. Allison's hands trembled. She called 911. When the police arrived, 2 officers, Martinez and Walker, checked the property. They came back after 15 minutes. "No one's inside, ma'am," they said. "Just an old empty house," but Allison could tell from their tone that they hadn't looked very hard. To them, she was just another overtired nurse seeing things after a long shift. Days passed. The noises got louder, scraping, like furniture being moved. Once, Allison heard what sounded like a whisper through her kitchen window, just one word: help. That night, she went to the police station herself. Officer Walker recognized her immediately. "Miss Green," he sighed, "we checked it. There's no sign of a break-in. Maybe what you're hearing is raccoons. Happens a lot around here." Raccoons. That's what they said. But raccoons don't whisper for help. One Saturday afternoon, Allison decided she'd had enough. She waited until daylight and walked next door. The grass was overgrown, the porch covered in leaves. The front door was locked. She circled to the back, where a small basement window sat cracked open. She crouched, peered inside, and gasped. There were chains on the wall, a mattress on the floor, food wrappers scattered around. Someone had been living there. Before she could react, a shadow moved inside. A man's hand pressed against the glass, thin, trembling, desperate. She stumbled backward, heart racing. "Hold on! I'll call for help!" she shouted. But before she could, the man vanished into the dark. This time, the police took her seriously. They brought backup, entered the house, and what they found froze even the most hardened among them. Inside that basement were signs of captivity: duct tape, rope, old medical supplies. And in the corner, a small digital camera, still recording. The screen showed recent footage of a man, emaciated, pleading for someone named Hannah. They found him 2 hours later, hidden behind a false wall. His name was Jason Miller, missing for nearly 3 months. He'd been kidnapped, held there by a man posing as a home repair contractor. The same man who'd once done yard work for Mrs. Turner. He'd been drugged, starved, and kept hidden in plain sight right there in the house next door. Allison's photo of the face in the window became crucial evidence. The suspect, Daniel Pierce, was arrested a week later in another town. Police discovered that he'd used multiple fake names, targeting vulnerable men and women under the guise of helping them find work. Jason survived barely. His first words to the officers were chilling. "He watched me through that window every night, like I was his project. The story shook the entire neighborhood. News trucks lined the streets. Mrs. Turner wept when she learned how close she'd been to danger. And Allison, the woman everyone thought was just seeing things, became the quiet hero who stopped a predator no one even knew existed. Months later, the house was demolished, but the lot remained empty, grass growing wild, as if the earth itself refused to forget. Sometimes, Allison says, she still dreams of that window and of the pale face watching from behind it. But in those dreams, she's not afraid anymore, because she looked, she spoke up, and that made all the difference.